Hello everyone, I welcome you for the 5 days International Certification course 2020 on the topic of novel exploration on research writing conducted by the Department of Chemistry, PSNA, College of Engineering and Technology, Dindugal. And this is the day 1 program. I am Dr. Abiya Chelliah, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, St. John's College, Tirunelveli. And today we are going to deal about the anatomy of a research article. We all know that publishing our research article is something very important. In the last day, we have already seen about the things that has been insisted by the government as well as by our institutions for publishing the research articles. But the thing is that you have to write a research article of your own. And for all those who are juniors as well as juvenile in writing a research article, have to be very cautious while you are doing one, because it's entirely different from that of the creative writing skills. For example, for a person who is good at creative writing skill, he can write anything out of the things that he has learned in the past, but here in case of a research article, have to be very precise according to the standards as well as according to the things that are expected by the scientific community. And knowing the variety of audience from all over the world, as well as understanding the serene and the soundness of the audience, I felt humble and stumbled to present these talks to you. And there is something called the problem of pain. We all know about it, but there is also something called the problem of pleasure. To publish a research article is really a pleasure. It's because you are telling your findings about a scientific research article to the scientific community. But thing is that it's a big problem. You have to be very clear about the problem of pleasure too. To be in a part of a pleasurable content, you have to feel some amount of pressure also there from the people, those who are as heads of the institutions. And there are quite often distinguished about the we have quite often things that we have to note while we are going for writing a research article. And the first of the thing is that we have to know about the components of a research article. The components of research articles are the title of a research paper, the abstract of the research paper, the background or introduction, materials and methods, results, discussion, conclusion, and then acknowledgements and references. For all of us, we used to write the title first if you don't know about the research article. Somebody who is a juvenile in this field, or somebody who is trying to write a research article, first they think of a title to write it down so that they can progress it out. But actually it is not. The first thing to have in our mind is the data. The data comes first. It's because while you are doing a research, the research data blinks in our mind and it makes us to write this research concept. Sometimes the research may happen in black and some other times it may happen in white. So research, while you are doing a research, you may also come out with something like you are finding out some other thing which is not at all interested for you. So it's an accidental discovery, and while you are doing this type of accidental discovery, it is proved only because of the data that you are having in your hand, and this data speaks out first. So writing a data is the first part that you are doing. It's a part of the result, and then comes the materials and methods. All those procedures that are needed for writing this data or finding out this data is the materials and methods. You write about the area of the study, you write about the procedures that you have followed, you also write about the things that are needed for you to do this experimentation. This comes in the materials and methods. So materials and methods and results are the first things for us to write in case of a research article. And then comes the background of the research. While you are thinking about a research topic, you may always think about the broad area of the research that has been covered by you. So you write the introduction part here. You start from the broad concept and you merge it down to the particular or the specific topic of interest that you have done on your laboratory. We have a hourglass model of a research article. In case of the hourglass model, it starts with a broad abstract. Abstract is always broad. It's because it's going to be read by a variety of people and they have to get a clunch out of it while you are reading. So it starts from the broad and it ends specifically in some content, but it's actually broad in almost all of its content. And when you're looking at the introduction, in introduction we start from the broad concept and it ends up in the specific concept of research that we are doing. And materials and methods doesn't have anything broad to say with, because it is too specific that you are going to write the protocols and the procedures that you have followed, that alone. And in the data or in the results section, you are going to write only the result that you have obtained in your laboratory. laboratory. Some people they get a result as yes, and some other they may get as no. It's not a wrong thing that you can always write no as your result too. And in case of discussion is something very important. Have to start from the specific research topic that you have covered or the experimentation that you have done. You start from your data and take it to the implication of the result in the society. So it moves from the specific concept to the broad societal implication of the research that you have done. So this is an important thing that we have to denote. Some people they do like this. Well, they start writing a research article, they used to copy certain parts of other research articles and paste it down. It is actually counted as a plagiarism, but we have to avoid all these things. So what they actually do is they copy the first paragraph of a research article from the published research article source that is available on the website, and they put it as their first paragraph, and they go for the second paragraph for them, or else they go for the next article, they copy one paragraph from the next article and put it on the as the second paragraph for them. But the thing is that it may have repetition. Both the paragraphs may be speaking the same thing and it may not cover the subject that is needed for us. So plagiarism may shatter the hourglass model of a research article, and it may make some redundant thought in the text that you are providing. You have to be very serious while we are doing this. So for our introduction, it should start from the broad nature and end up in the specific research topic that we are researching. And materials and methods and results are very specific in nature. To say with the discussion, it starts from the specific experimentation that we have done and moves on to the broad content where the implications of the research can be spoken. Also, there are different types of papers. The model of the research paper markedly differs on the basis of the types of the research article that we are going to write. There is some paper called empirical paper, some other paper case study paper, and some other called survey paper, some other called methodology paper, and there are theory papers too. The basic research article type is what we are going to see now, but for all these types there are different modules for us to discuss. In case if you are speaking about a survey paper, we do a survey, and in the appendix part we have to add the survey content or the questionnaire that we have used for the survey. This is usually done, but in case of a normal research paper, we won't do any appendix. If there is a need for an appendix, we can give, or else we can leave it out. But for survey papers, it's compulsory that you have to give some appendix. And in case of a theory paper, we substantiate the thought with the theory that we have formed, and sometimes we used to make some claims out of the theory that we are predicting out, which has been done by various other researchers. It's more or less like a review, but the theory which has been formed makes it as a research article. So such differences are there. While we are writing the research article too, these papers differ in the content. These papers differ in the major headings that we are using. For example, introduction is common for everything, but materials and methods are differently written in case of a case study paper than in a methodology paper. In case of case study, you know already that these things would happen, but some case may differ in a particular school of thought, which is something very odd to the public, and we are making it available for the public in case if you are having this type of research in our laboratory. Physicians usually do this kind of case study papers. So for the type of research that we are doing, we can also write different types of papers, and on the basis of the paper that we are trying to write, the anatomy of the paper or the components of the paper too differs. This is something which we have already known, but I have to tell you about it. Title is something which describes the content of the research, and authors are to be taken into consideration to a great extent. Sometimes some authors are not given weightage. Some people, those who have written some parts of the paper, they are just acknowledged. It's the violation of human right. It's because everybody who has taken part in writing this research article should be given due importance while they are presenting a research paper or publishing a research paper in a journal. Abstract is something which is to be given utmost importance, because most authors or the readers could read abstract first, and if they are interested in this abstract, they'll move on to the reading of the next part of the research article. And then comes the introduction. Introduction should not be boring. It should be flowy in nature. It also should be in the content which is precise. It should not define the basic key terminologies which are used in the paper. It's because it's not a textbook matter. It's a research article that we have to take into consideration. Should not be having any plagiarism too, because introduction is one part where authors used to plagiarize to a great extent. Introduction and the discussion are the two important parts which you have to give more importance. It's because introduction paves a way for the reader to move to the next important part, that is the result. Thereby he is getting some idea on the subject, even though if the person is not researching in this field but having some small interest in this field of research, he has to learn some concepts from the introduction and then to move on to the next part of the research article. So introduction always paves a way for the reader to enter in, and it forms the doorstep for the research article. This arena is very important for us, and materials and methods, they should precisely written. They should be written in the form that it is reproducible. Some people, they used to write something which is not understandable, but that should not be here. At least if you are using some other protocols which were formulated by previous authors, you have to cite them out. If you are citing them out, that itself is enough, because a serious academician who is interested in your research will go back to that research article and read the procedure by himself. Something which other authors have explained could not be possible for you to explain as such. So it could be left by giving due respect in the form of citations. And then results is something that you have to give utmost importance, because it's your research and you have to write this research section. If there is a need for you to put some table, you have to do that. If there is a need for you to put some graph, you can very well do a graph in this section. Or else if you are interested in giving out some videos, you can always add it as an appendix. It's possible for us to present the research in the form of the results that we are providing. And discussion is much needed, because discussion proves your research. Until then, you are not proving your research. You have done some experimentation. You don't know whether it is good or bad, it's right or wrong, but you have to prove your research with the help of discussion. One man cannot discuss. So you are making other author claims to here to validate your results that has been predicted. Acknowledgements is one another important thing that we have to speak about. It's because acknowledgements are given less importance in case of research articles. Funding agencies should be acknowledged, and heads of the institutions are very important. Laboratories where you have worked can be acknowledged. Some people, they give respect to the individuals too. Some authors, they used to give importance to the co-authors and give them in the acknowledgement too, but it's a redundance, it's a repetition. You have to avoid all these things. And references, you have to follow the journal format for the reference section. It's because every journal has their own pattern of reference. There are too many patterns of reference in this world, and they may be following one important pattern or one pattern. If you are copying the references from different articles, it may be a very big fuss. Every journal is having their unique pattern, and other journal patterns cannot be correlated or related to one another. While you are doing this, you have to use some of the softwares which we will discuss later on, so that it's possible for us to have a unique format which is designed for the journal. And then we also have appendices in case if you are providing some supplementary data. Now we are getting into the core topic, that is the titling of a research article. Titling of a research article is very important. Many people don't think about this. In case of titling, they oftentimes give a title just by looking at other research articles. They have some review of literatures on their hand, and they look at the titles one after the other, and they pick up one title, they stick on it, they change the title as per their requirement, and they present it as a title. This is not the actual form that we have to follow, because title is the first one which is to be read by all the readers. Even an editor who is looking at your research article, he is going to read the title first. Title gives out the first impression before the abstract and before the introduction. The title is the one which is going to speak about your research. It should make some immediate sense. this immediate sense is the one which is going to make the reader stick on to the topic and to read the abstract and the introduction in course of time. It should attract the readers too. If the title is not attractive, it's not going to be something which is readable. And then it's also for SEO and indexing. Search engine optimization is something which is very important nowadays. We are running out of citations. We want to improve our citation. In case if you want good citation, your title must be in an SEO perspective. It's because while you are typing something on the Google, when your research article appears first on the Google or in the first page of the Google, then it's good. How come it is possible? It's because of the search engine optimization. So something which is needed for the reader should be there in your title. It should not be shabby, it should not be half a sort, it should be in a precise form. It should explain what is there inside the research article too. Also, it should be concise and indicate the type of experimentation that you have done. Also, it is different from others. If it is not different from others, or if it is not attractive, it's not going to be something which is pulling out the readers for reading the abstract or the next part of the research article. So title is one of the most important part in a research article, and it is the doorstep to stay with. So when a reader looks at the research article, it is the first thing to be impressed of. While you are looking at an indexing server or an abstracting platform, they used to have the titles one after the other, and it is the title which is attracting the reader to go on sticking into it or to click on for reading the full text or the abstract. So title should be given much importance or much attention in case if you are doing a research article. And when you are looking at this serial titles which I have given here, see, look at the first title. It's having too many redundant nouns. Where you are using these two nouns, here the redundance would make the research title very big. Also, the reader who is going to read the research title may not be having too much time to stick on to your title alone. So he will be reading too many titles and he will just stick on to one title which is much interested. Too many nouns or redundant nouns may spoil your title. When you are looking at the next title, you may see two parts of the title. When two parts of the title are there, you have to be very much cautious about it. If the first part is claiming to be something, then the second part should explain the first part. So two parts should be coherent, should be adjusted in such a way that it's explaining the whole topic of interest. If it's not with the whole topic of interest, or if it's not with a content that is deliberately related to each other, then it's going to spoil the title. Other things, if you are having a question of redundancy in the two parts of the title, then it's also going to be something bad. For example, if the first part is speaking about something and if the second part is also speaking about the same thing, there is no need for the second part. First part alone makes sense. So all these things should be taken care of. Also, if you are having a first part of the title as a question, then the second part should be the answer for the question. So these things are very important for us while you are making a title. Titles should not end with a period if it is having two parts. If it's having one part, you can end it with a period, or else it should not be. So punctuation should be taken much importance while you are doing this. And a serious editor will be looking for the right punctuation, right technical terminology, right spelling, right capitalization, right content, as well as the right grammatical form of a title, because title is the one which is going to attract the readers more. And then if you are attaching too many things in the title, or if you are speaking about many concepts in the title itself, it's also going to make a big fuss. It should not discuss more concepts. It should precisely make the person to enter into that article so that he can learn more from the research article itself. And while you are writing a research article, you have to prefer nouns. It's an era where we are verbifying everything. We are making verbs by just adding ing to that. And gerunds are to be avoided in the research article. If you are verbifying your title, then it's not going to be good. So you have to use nouns. But if you are using strings of nouns or more amounts of nouns, then it's not going to sound good. You have to reduce the nouns to a limited form. You should reduce the verb. If the verb is needed, you have to use. So too many verbs are going to spoil your title, too many nouns are going to spoil your title, but strings of noun should be avoided. And the other important thing is that you have to be very clear with the preposition. Prepositions are one important thing that you have to learn in the English, and it is the last thing to be mastered in English. So prepositions should be taken care of. While you are using by, it should be with something that has been already done. And if you are using for, it should be for a purpose. If you are using of, it should be something for located. If you are using at, it should be something which is designating some time or some place. So something like this should be learned off. If the preposition goes on wrong, then you are spoiling the reader and you are making the reader not to enter into it, because the first impression, a serious academician would come to a conclusion that this fellow is not able to write the title right, then how can he go on writing the research article? He will not even read the abstract, he will move on to the next article. And if you are looking at this article, here you can see that the person who has written this title has given both the common name and the scientific name. Common name and the scientific name is a redundancy. If you are writing the scientific name, that itself is enough. It's a scientific text, and why should you go for writing a common name? Can be written inside the abstract or in the introduction section, and there is no need for you to have the common name in the title section itself. So such type of redundancies should be avoided. What should I do for making the quality title? Then this is, you should use the correct English. Preposition should be right, punctuation should be there, you should be very clear in the grammatical forms. It should be, you should use more amount of nouns, and then it should be understandable. Some titles, they stick on to too many concepts, so they cannot be readable. The readable in the sense, a person who is looking at it, he cannot understand it in first slot itself. So normally a reader may not be interested in such titles. They move on to the next topic, which clearly explains what it is. So it should be in the form that is very eye-catching. Eye-catching is very important for us to when we are using this. And SEO perspectively written title is something which is more desirable. It's because SEO is the prime reason for you to increase your citations, and then sufficient and appropriate titles are needed. If your title is explaining only half the concept or only a part of the research that you have done, it's not good. It should sufficiently explain what you have done, and also it should reflect the content of your paper. If you could write your research article in one line, that is your title. If you could write your research article in one line, that could be your title, and it should be expressed in the form that is acceptable for a journal. It should not be too long, it should not be too short, it should not be something which is explaining more, but it should be precise and it should be sufficient to be a title. And then comes the abstract. Abstract is the next important thing that we have to look after in case of a research article. While you are writing an abstract, you have to be very serious. It's because most of the toll access journals, they give out only the abstracts. A reader can read the abstract alone. If he is interested, he can go for the purchase of the abstract. If he is not interested, he will normally skip on to the next research article. So abstract is the most important one next to the title, so that the reader can make the decision of purchase of this research article. In case of open access journals too, indexes, they used to take the abstract and put it on their website with a link as full text for the research article. So abstracts should be something which is explaining in a great way, and it's the first part to decide your research. It's the first part for you to explain about your research, and it's the first one for the indexes to crawl through a server of the journal or to take it to their indexing servers. And it's the first impression which comes out from the, it's the first impression that comes out from the author. So any author who is a serious academician, he would concentrate more on the abstract. Deepening and fashioning an abstract is very much important. You have to be very broad in this concept, but it's that we have to be very precise in writing the research abstract too. For example, people, they concentrate not on the abstract first. Most of the people, they don't even concentrate on the abstract. In last 5 minutes of time, they used to form an abstract out of some sentences that are available on the introduction and from the discussion. They take and they merge it out, they form as an abstract. It's something which is not acceptable. You have to spend more time on writing an abstract. You have to spend more time. It's because it's that that much important. Your introduction is not going to be first read by the reader, but your abstract is going to be first read by the reader, and it's that which is making the reader to get some interest in your research article too. So abstract should be given much importance. It should not have any reference citation, it should not have any mathematical equation, it should not have any redundancy, it should not be plagiarized, but it should explain in the form that it should have to explain the research article. If you could write your research paper in one paragraph, that is your abstract. More explains your abstract. Good abstracts can be indexed to a great extent, and also it is a big marketing tool. We all know about keywords. See, keywords are the meta tags for a research article. You may not concentrate more on the keywords, but a serious academician who is concentrating more on the keywords can help his article to get cited more. It's because journal publishers, they used to make the keywords as the meta tags for the pages of the research article. They used to keep them as meta tags, and these meta tags are crawled by the robots while we are typing something for a search in the search engines. In case of an indexing servers, they also take it as a crawling tool. Keywords are more important, and these keywords should also be immersed in the abstract. That is how an indexer can search for, or while somebody is searching for a research article, it can be visible in the Google in the first page, and it's the first place for any reader to learn something about your research article. So you have to be very careful while you are writing a research abstract. Research abstracts are also of different types. When you are looking at the abstract, there is something called unstructured abstract. An unstructured abstract is the important abstract that we are doing. It's because most of the journals, they prefer this unstructured abstract. It's a paragraph which explains about the research article. So most of the journals, they have this. It's from 100 to 250 words. Anything that we have to discuss about the research article should be given in one paragraph. And structured abstract is something which is split into 2 or 3 paragraphs. Any title could be given as the head of the paragraph, and it is called a structured paragraph. And something called extended abstract, and this extended abstract is with the introduction or backgrounds, and with materials and methods, results and discussion and all. It's like a mini research article which contains everything that is a part of a research article too. So this extended abstract is one of the recent form that we have to take into consideration. And another important thing is called a conference abstract. Conference abstract is not an usual abstract. It may extend up to 500 words. It's more than an abstract. It's like a mini research article which is written in one paragraph. It's because in most of the conferences, they won't go for the full text publication. So a conference editor should also decide the article only on the basis of the feeble information or the meager information that is given here in this conference abstract. It goes on up to 500 words of text. Also, in these days, we have video abstracts, audio abstracts, and infographic abstracts too. And in case of an abstract, how should you make your abstract more good? And the first one that you have to do with that is you have to present why you have chosen this project or why you have done this research in the abstract. And also you must give some note on how you have done this. So material should be covered, why or what is the importance of doing this research and what your results are. Few research results could also be given here in the abstract, and too many results may make the reader not to have more interest on the research topic. It's because if they are getting these results there itself, then what is the need for them to go into the research article and read about it? So bluntly, you can give some research results which are more important or at most important for you to give, and you can compare your research with the other research papers, or in one line you have to compare and tell the importance of your research paper. You have to tell about the implications of your research in the society, and that is very important. If you are not writing the implications of your findings, then you are losing something in the abstract, and you have to write your conclusion, and even recommendations can be in one line. Altogether, it can be up to some 7 lines, 6 or 7 lines. You have to cover why, the question of why, have to cover the question of what, you have to cover the question of how, and you have to cover the question of where. It's because where you have done this research is very important. Also, you have to compare the research with other research articles. You have to speak about the implications, have to speak about the conclusions and recommendations of the research article. There is a specific concept called Estrella model for writing a research abstract. You have to be very serious about this, and wherever you are finding some new information in your research title, you have to include this in the abstract too. If you are speaking about something which is new, which is away from the topic that the other authors have discussed, or if your finding is coming to a big discovery, you have to tell this in the abstract. And abstract should carry the unique information that you have placed inside the research article. You should have some introductory sentence, you should have the background and the methodology, you should have the results, it should have the use of the research. This comprises the well developed abstract, and tenses are very important for us while you are thinking about the abstract. In case if you are not thinking about the tenses in the abstract, then you are actually failing to present a good abstract. You can use simple present tense in case if it is an universal fact, or in case even now if it is existing as such, or else you can use the simple past. In case of experimentation that you have done in your laboratory, you can very well use simple past. It's because it has been done already and you have now predicted the results, you can use simple past. Something which has been started in the past and even now continuing can be written in present perfect, and that is the tense that we use in the abstract. What should not be there in the abstract is also very important. Too much of background information should not be there. Some people, they used to do like this. They used to cut down the introductory part from some other research article and put it on their abstract. They paraphrase it and make it their own sentence, but it should not be there, because repetition of that may happen in case if you are doing this. And the next important thing is that you should not claim your research paper to a great extent. And if you are claiming too much of results, or if you are claiming too much of unwanted things in the research article, then it's going to be a fuss in the abstract. And then terminologies or key terms should not be used. Too much of technical terminologies may spoil your abstract. If you are using too much of definitions should not be there even in the introduction. It's because we are not going for writing a textbook matter. And mathematical equations should be avoided. Generic quantifications can be avoided, because broad sector values, or if you are using something like many, several, few, variety, and all these words are generic quantifications. If you are using this, then you are reducing the value of your abstract. In case if you want to use, you can use the numerical forms of it. You have to present the exact quantity that you have taken into consideration. So such things should be there, and unnecessary detailing in the abstract can make the reader a boring one. So you have to avoid that. You should not present your references in the abstract section. You have to self-assess your abstract, and the most important thing that you have to see is that it should be on the basis of the guidelines to authors that has been prescribed by the journal. Journal is the sole one which is going to publish your research article. You have to fulfill all the expectations that a journal editor has prescribed in his website, and then it should speak about the background, it should speak about the research problem, methods, results, and implications of the results. All that we have known already. It should not be redundant. It should make the reader to get a satisfaction so that he can move on to the introduction, and also it should have the correct tenses, which is very important for us to take it into consideration. Next comes the introduction. So many other works in this world. Why have you come for writing this research article? This is the main important concept that should be there in your mind while you are writing an introduction. You have to state what difference is there from the other research article. There are too many research articles in this field, too many research articles in the same subject too. Why have you written such an article, and what is the need for such the article in this world? You should show the problem that you have faced, and you have to prove the solution too. You have to tell about the solution that you have come about, and you should also speak about the reasons for writing this research article. You have to summarize the content. You have to speak about the questions that have raised on your mind. Some people can write the hypothesis. In case of a hypothesis, you can very well write about your hypothesis and give your research question too. Also, if you are explaining about your findings, you can explain, but it should be very precise. It should not move on more than 2 sentences so that you can give more important information in the results section. You can also speak about the implication here, but the implication should not be too much. It should be in one line, because we can speak about the implication of this research in the discussion section. Discussion and introduction are different parts. Some people, they used to write like this, they put the same information in the introduction and the discussion, but discussion is an entirely different one, which is going to claim the research result as the good one, whereas introduction is one which is paving a way for the reader to move on to the results, because introduction moves on from the broad concept and ends up in the specific research that we have done. Remember, and it's very important for us to take a good time for writing the introduction. It cannot be done in one day of time. It may need more days for you to write a good introduction. You have to revise it again. You have to go for revising it an n number of times so that it's possible for you to have a very good information. It should not be like a textbook matter. Most of the people, they used to write textbook matters. They define the terminologies. It's not like that. You have to be very precise in the content. You have to start with a broad sense, but not too broad. You have to be inside the topic. You have to be in the research field, and then you have to move into the specific arena where you have done the research. And it's very important for us to take it into consideration. Materials and methods are the next important one. Materials and methods should not be plagiarized. Since most of the research articles, people used to copy the research technique or the research procedure and put it as such, and they give the citation of the author. It should not be there. So you have to write the methodology part by your own. It should not be written a record notebook information. Most of them, they used to write serially as like they are doing it in the record notebook. If you are doing a first paper, then it should be a big flaw when you are doing this. So you have to be very careful while you are writing the materials and methods, because materials and methods should be very precise. It should be repeatable. In the laboratory of the reader, they can be interested and they can go for this same experimentation. Maybe the laboratory standards may differ, but the methodology should be provable, should be reproducible, and that is very important. If you are not changing any part of the methodology of an author which has already published his methodology, then you can very well cite them alone. That itself is enough. Any serious academician would go for the search of this methodology in the same paper and can find it out while he is interested. If you have done some modification, you can denote it. That itself is enough in case of the materials and methods section. In case of results should an observation. If you have an observation, you have to denote it down. All data should be presented in the nice form. You can give the area of the study. If you have a map, you can present it. While you are doing a map, you have to give the direction of the map. You have to give the lat log coordinates. While people are writing this lat and log coordinates, they also write the direction too. But lat and log coordinates, they have the own direction. If you are writing latitude, then there is no need for a direction. If you are writing the direction, then there is no need for you to prescribe it as a latitude. So such redundancies should be avoided. Also, in case of the result, if you are providing a table, it's well and good, or else if you are giving a graph, it's also well and good. You can also put some statistics and include it here, but the statistics should be in the right form. Many people, they put the tabular column which is obtained from the software as such, but it should not be like that. It should be taken into consideration for the discussion. The values that you have obtained in the statistics should be verified in the discussion part. Also, it should be taken highly curved off. It's because statistics tests are very precise. If you are changing the statistics test, it may give out some other information. If you put some other statistical test in the place of a specific test that has to be done, it's not going to give you out the right result. Have to be very careful in that. While you are using the softwares, it should not be cracked softwares. It should be original software, because you are citing the software name, and the software authority or the company which is producing the software can claim some royalty in case if they find out that you are using something which is not purchased from your laboratory. So have to be very serious while you are doing this. Also, in the results section, it should be very clear and it should speak about the findings. The discovery part should be very clear in this place. If there is no discovery, then there is no need for a research article. Some people, they used to hide their discovery. They used to write it in different terms, in terms which others cannot even understand. All these things are not needed. Only the important things that you have found out in your laboratory should be included here in this results. And case of the discussion, one man cannot discuss. If you are not citing any research article for the claim of your research, then you are failing in this part. So discussion is one thing which is very important, because it's validating your research, it's proving your result part, and it's making your result as a valuable one. When discussions are done, it is not like a review of literature part. Some people, they used to take the review of literature from the thesis and they put it as such in the discussion part. It's not like that. You have to serially prove your results and the observations one by one with the claims that has been already available in the literature, and that is the important thing you are doing here in the discussion. In case of references, references are very important. It's because references makes the academic research article very elite. If the reference number is high, then it's proving that you have done a very good research. If the reference number is very low, it seems that you have not read more number of research articles and books. So higher the number of references, it proves that the researcher has done a very good research, and lower the number of researchers has proved that they have done a very low research. And reference format is one thing which is very much needed. Reference formats are in n number, and more than thousands of reference formats are available in this world. Better we can use software for this purpose to edit the reference format. Every journal, they have their own reference style which they are following as a standard one for their research articles. So we have to adopt to that style. We cannot prescribe our own style, or we cannot prescribe the style which we have used in the previous article to this journal. We have different types of referencing. I have certain types of referencing we have, so we will be discussing about it. One important reference style is Harvard format. Here we use the author name for the citation of the research article, and in the reference section we won't use the number format. We use the authors, and we make them in the alphabetical order. In case of a Vancouver format, we use the number format, and we cite the references inside the text. References are arranged serially in the number form in the reference section. In case of the referencing, we have to use some reference management software tools. There are certain tools like Mendeley, Zotero, and EndNote. EndNote is a software which comes from the Thomson Reuters, and Mendeley is one from the elsewhere. Previously we had a Connectia which comes from the Nature publishing group, but now it's not available. And Mendeley is a more serious software which is free to use, and you can always do that. In case if you are using Mendeley, you have to download it from the internet. You can make it available as an extension for your MS Word, also for the Chrome browser, so that if you come across an article, or if you are typing some text in the Google and finding out an article while you are using the full text of the research article, you can have an add-on popping out from the Google Chrome, where you can get the reference in the apt format that is needed for you, or which is prescribed from the journal itself. Such things can do your work, and you can easily change the formats in a different way. And the next important thing after we finishing the research article is the article submission. While you are having this article in your hand, you have to choose the right journal. Journal availability is very high, but choosing the right journal is your choice. You have to choose the right journal by reading the aim and scopes of the journal, as well as by looking at the journal in the indexing servers. Also, you have to think about the audience while you are looking for a journal. For example, there are international journals where your research could be taken internationally. There are national journals which can take your research to the national laboratories as well as to the national wide institutions. Where there are statewide journals where you can publish your research and make the journal available in the state. There are local journals which is meant for local circulation. For example, if I am using a research, or if I am doing a research on a local river, where I am writing a research article and making it available for a country which is too far or too much away from me, what is the need for publishing this research article for those readers? It's absolutely needed for them to adopt my methodology. It's good, but the local people are the one who is going to get some information out of that research which I have done. So I have to choose the local research journal which makes the research to get it disseminated to the local people. So that is very important for us. So we have to choose the journal according to the type of research that we have done. Also, you can choose the journal according to the impact factor, according to the need of your institution, according to the quality standards that you prefer, that are all also needed. And there are two types of journals. One is a broad journal and another one is a specialized journal. Specialized journals are for a specific topic, and the broad journals, they cover broad area. Science and Nature are the two important broad journals which we can speak about. And open access journals and subscription based journals are also there, and they are both with the same quality standards, but open access journal makes the freely available form of the full text. And in case if you are using the subscription based journals, the author or the reader has to pay some amount of money for getting the researches while you are doing this. And while you are making your research article available for the editor will go for the peer review and will check for all those things which we have discussed already, and after that they can make your article visible for the others to read. And I hope now you have understood the parts of the research article, and in your future works you can do the research article in an elite way by keeping this in your mind. I hope this would be an eye-opening session and most of you would be benefited. You can feel free to send your queries to us, and our email ID and WhatsApp number is here. You can take it for granted. You can ask queries about writing the research article here. I thank everybody for listening to this lecture. Thank you once again.